there are two prongs to sustainable supply chain management. One of them is about products and how you create new products. So rather than creating a product and then trying to make it sustainable, you create a sustainable product right from the beginning. So you look for them and you package them together in that way. It's built into the development process. Okay? So you might be looking for sustainable suppliers, labels, awards, recognition. The Travelife market, by the way, this is a platform where you can look for sustainable business partners. Actually, this is what you were just talking about. You can find them on here. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. Or maybe Vita will do that. Between us, we're going to be talking about that. The sustainability system for hotels, I spend an equal amount of my time looking at Travelife for hotels as I do for Travelife for tour operators. And this is a scheme where you can actually find already sustainable suppliers, hotels. So that's creating new product. But of course, there's a problem in that at the moment, there are a very small fraction of the suppliers that are out there. Most suppliers are at the moment not very sustainable, so they're hard to find. If you were going to rely upon sustainable products, then you might as well close your business at the moment, because you're not going to find sufficient for you to be able to sustain your own business. So you've got to think then about your existing suppliers. So what can you do with the people that you're already working with to make that more sustainable? Well, you need to apply some priorities, because you work with lots and lots of different suppliers. So you've got to have some means of putting them in some sort of an order. And I would suggest that this is a logical hierarchy of things to do with existing suppliers. That's the first thing to do. It's the easiest, the most logical, is to make a list, an inventory of all the suppliers that you work with. All of them, write them all down. And then put a big mark against the ones that are your key suppliers, in terms of the ones that really bring in most revenue, because they handle most of your customers. And then put a mark against the suppliers that have the biggest impacts. So for instance, in terms of those different areas that we talked about this morning, one of the biggest impacts would be impacts on animals. So animal excursions, for instance, for me personally, I would prioritise those because they're a huge risk. So that would be in my inventory of relevant suppliers. I might also prioritise some regions, some destinations maybe, that are struggling to survive because their general level of income is lower than the national average. So the suppliers that are working there would maybe also be up here because of the size of that impact. So you've got to think of some logic as to where you position the suppliers. And after you've worked on that for a while, you'll get a list in some sort of order that says, this is the person I need to work with first, and this is the person I'm going to tackle last. That can take quite a while. Okay? Then, remember to practice what you preach. So, before you ask them or tell them anything about what you want them to do, you need to tell them what you are doing and the reasons why. And it's as simple as that. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, and I'm doing it because. I'm not asking you to do anything in return. I'm just sharing with you what our philosophy is of doing business in the 21st century. And that's about giving people a copy of your policy, which we're going to start creating tomorrow. Thirdly, you can now start to capacity build with your suppliers. Give them some training, some skills, help them to see how they can improve. You don't have to set them any targets. You don't have to beat them with a stick. You're just going to say, we've found it really useful to look at our own sustainability, and these are some of the things that have worked for us, and they can work for you. This is how you do them. That's just sharing knowledge. And your suppliers are really going to welcome that, because they just see that as very cooperative and you helping them. So yes, so sharing your best practices and then training and capacity building, very important step in getting people ready so that they can start to tell you about their own performance. And they do that through self-assessment. So you just ask them to disclose to you what they are doing. There's no checking. You literally would just give them a list of questions and say, tell me which of these you do and which of them you don't. And it's as simple as that, just an information gathering exercise. Because you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start identifying what we call the baseline. So you've got to know where your suppliers are at this moment in time, because then you can start setting some targets to try and get them to improve. Of course, this complexity of doing this increases as we move down here, and the sort of the confidence that you need to have as a business. You need a lot of confidence to do some of these things. So, are you now at point 6 able to put into contracts with your suppliers the do's and don'ts? We will not work with any supplier that does not have a child exploitation policy. That's a very strong message that goes out to suppliers. But if you put that in there, you need to be seen to be monitoring it. So it's no good putting something in a contract and then just forgetting about it. TUI made this mistake. TUI said 2 years ago that all of their hotels must subscribe to Travelife by the 1st of January 2013. Well, we're now the something of October. 14, does it? I have no idea, I don't even know what day of the week it is. So it's the 14th of October, and less than a third have got Travelife. Less than a third. Okay? What are they doing about it? Not a great deal at the moment. They're trying to push them hard, but they're not hitting them with any stick. So you've got to have some means of monitoring it and try and moving it along. You know, you can't say we won't work with you if ultimately actually you don't follow it through. You've got to be very, very careful what you say. Certification certainly is something you would then perhaps want to go. It's a natural progression from here to here. So you would say to a supplier, as TUI has done now, in 2015 we will only work with hotels that can prove their sustainability credentials. So that's about certification. Then you can give people something back. You can say, if you've got that far, that now we're going to put you in front of, as a supplier, the rest of the suppliers we work with. So we will give you the best position on our website, we'll give you the best position in our catalogues. We're going to talk to people about your products before we talk to people about anybody else's. And that way, there's some real payback for them cooperating with you. And this is how Travelife functions. So Travelife provides an opportunity for people to showcase their good practice to partners. That's very much what the Travelife market's about. It's about getting here. And the hotel side also has the same platform. It's called the Travelife Collection. I think that's coming up in a second. At any point in time now, this should give you an opportunity to work out how many suppliers have achieved some of these steps. So you can start providing people with evidence of how you're tackling your supply chain. Don't be shy of bringing other people in. A lot of operators historically, particularly, have been very, very wary of NGOs because they think that NGOs are just out there to get them. Actually, that's not true. NGOs are there to try and promote good practice.
Sorry, what it means, NGO?
NGO, non-governmental organisation. So these are often organisations that are working on a particular issue or range of issues because they believe in them, and they're not attached to the government, but they get government support through sometimes funding, but sometimes facilitation, but there's no relationship directly with government. So there's not regulatory requirements there. They're independent. Okay, those are the Travelife tools. That's the Travelife marketplace. That's the platform. It's just a search. This is just a search engine at the front that allows you to filter for particular types of sustainable suppliers. These are all the people working with Travelife in here. And that is the Travelife collection for hotels. So again, you would click on that button and you get a filter where you can search for awarded hotels. Okay, those are some examples from some companies of the sustainable things that they do on supply chain management. As you can see, quite a number of people are putting things into contracts. This needs updating a little bit, but because it's not 50% now, their new contract clause is that 100% of overnight stays must be in certified accommodation by 2015. Not necessarily Travelife, although they promote that as the primary scheme. This is a company that's selling African tours. They have a very proactive approach. They put it on the website as well. They talk very much about what they do to be more sustainable. And they've got lots of codes of conduct and lots of statements in respect of the activities that they offer. So they say what are their guarantees that you will have sustainable wildlife experiences or sustainable diving. You know, they give you lists of criteria